LunaMothWings is a woman of many talents. On today's episode, we are talking with someone who not only streams games, but creates contents in many other ways, such as cooking, cosplaying, and does movie reviews on a YouTube channel called LunaMothWings as well. Luna, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I was very happy when I saw that LunaMothWings, by the way. I was like, oh shit, okay, all right, I see you out here. So that's pretty dope to uncover that, because I didn't know you did the movies and stuff like that. So I definitely want to get into that later on as we kind of like go through basically your content journey in life and all that other cool stuff. But one thing that I've always like really appreciated about you specifically is your wit and your vernacular, all right, mixed with a little bit of whimsy with all that. And I was just like, man, she is so cool, she is so smart, and I wanted to kind of like start with that in a way. And I learned that you have an English literature degree. And what made you want to like go down that path where you're like, you know what, English lit sounds lit, like run me through that process of yours.
I laugh as if I haven't made that joke before. I think looking back on it, it was something that I wasn't actually confident on when the way the education system works, they just go like, we just got to get every kid that we can into uni so it looks good on our flipping, whenever you try and get your kids into high school, and they're like, wow, 90% success rate, that stuff.
And where are you from again?
I'm from Southwest England.
Okay, gotcha. So then that's how they just get down over in England, and they're just like, listen, we got to get that up so it looks good, basically. Okay, because in the U.S. we don't really. They're just like, do it or you don't, I guess. And if you don't, we'll call you a failure. But at the same time, if you do, you may still just be a failure. So I just tossing that out there. But yeah, go ahead.
I wondered if it was like every school just obviously wants to have it look like they've got good results. But anyway, I wasn't actually entirely sure I wanted to do literature to begin with. But then when I did it, I feel like, why did I ever doubt myself with that? Because I feel like for me, I can wax lyrical about literature because it's history, it's culture, it's our human connections. There's just always so much to dive into, to debate, to discuss. And yeah, that's a lot of me. I love discussing things, even if it gets a little bit spicy. It's like, this is all a room for us to have nice debates, but not like debate club debates, where it's questions that you're like, I'm not sure why this is a debate, sir. But yeah, it's fun, because a lot of then what media you like, it can mean so much to you, but it can also mean nothing. Like, I really enjoy things that are more like deep or whatever, but there was a period of time, it's died out quickly, thank God, but I really love horror movies, and there was a period of time a couple of years ago when then horror's always stayed on the fringes of popularity, and I think that then when there were a couple of really good horror movies that were then popular, the term elevated horror started going around, and all of us long-term horror fans were like, what do you mean elevated horror? Oh, you can rate it 5 stars so it's elevated now? Not like those trashy horrors, am I right? But yeah, I think then the literature thing feeds into movies and games for me a lot as well. Frequently, I'm still buying little essay books from people who will write video games essays and movie essays and just talk about, as I say, so much history and culture, and it all just tangles together in this beautiful tapestry, and it just makes me come alive.
Okay, I love that. And that kind of like brings me into the next thing too. How do you go from English lit to gaming and streaming on Twitch? Like, at what point did you even find Twitch, or even before that, when did you find your love of gaming? Like, when did that even start?
Well, Anthony, they tell you get a degree and you'll get a great job, and then that didn't happen.
That's what they say.
You're overqualified. No, genuinely, after I finished uni, I went to try and find a job in book publishing. I felt like that was like a natural path to go down. Unfortunately, publishing is still something that is very location based, and there just wasn't anything around me to apply for. And then lockdown hit. So during this time, my partner was watching Twitch streams. A little before that, actually, I think it was the last year of university is how I found out about Twitch. And I had one channel that really inspired me. It created like such that thing people talk about all the time, that really cozy space where it feels like you're a little family and you just have a couple of hours where everything just bad around you becomes like a nice blur and you're just bonding over games and silly jokes and stuff like that. That channel no longer exists anymore, unfortunately. It was a long time ago. But yeah, that's what got me into Twitch and during lockdown, because of how they inspired me. And I thought, why don't I try it? And then, as a lockdown baby, Twitch wise, I was one of the ones that got to a certain point where I thought, oh, I can keep carrying on with this. I like it. I make friends through this. I'm introduced to worlds and people that I wouldn't have known otherwise, because it's always just so cool whenever you find online communities where you just know you'd never meet them in real life, but like the school thing, frequently a lot of people, when they feel like an outcast, it's like, well, it's just a lottery who you end up with at school, who you end up with around you in your general location. But when you've got something in common, like the games that you want to play, obviously like attracts like. And so it's just been really nice to then be able to have a community I know I wouldn't have been able to have otherwise. And I've liked keeping up with it. But for the gaming side of things, when I was a kid, I always wanted to play games, but I didn't come from like a family that was so traditional it was sexist or something, but definitely I have two brothers and a sister, and I just kind of used my brother's PlayStation 2. That's all I had, but it kind of then became the family PS2. But yeah, every time I'd want a game, because I guess it was the era where, I'd be seeing Final Fantasy X beautiful cover art and be like, I want that. That's beautiful. And like, you don't want a game like that. Here, young child, here's Piglet's big game. So, as I say, it wasn't like sexist, but it was very then I was on the sidelines of that. And I've spent a lot of my life in a position where I don't come from money. And so, again, certain technology to be able to play games just, well, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. We can't afford that. But yeah, it used to be that I would then watch a lot of Let's Plays on YouTube. That's also a fun one to look back on, like, oh, that channel's not around anymore. I wonder why. Oh, but yeah, it was then the way that I got into thinking, like, I can still be in game spaces without playing games. But yeah, that's kind of how the build up to now occurred.
Okay. Do you remember what your first game was?
My very first game ever. My gosh, it was probably like Worms on the computer or something. Actually, no. I think the first game on PC I was really passionate about was Morrowind. I was 10, so I had no clue what was going
Skyrim,
on. It's
right?
so funny looking back. Oh, Anthony.
No, there's Elder Scrolls, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
there it
Skyrim
is. All
minus
right,
one.
cool. Gotcha. Yeah. No, it's I tried wait,
It's
what
not
is
your
it?
fault.
The
All they do is re-release
MMO.
Skyrim. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I tried that for a little bit, and which is for people who don't know, like massive multiplayer online. You'd be surprised who listens to the podcast. And in that, because I played Skyrim originally, and I was like, oh, dope, they're making this awesome MMO. It's just more Skyrim, right? And it wasn't. It really wasn't. I played that for a little bit, and I was like, dog, I can't do this anymore. So yeah, you got into stuff like that, or
Yeah, because some of the PC games around that era that I was playing, Morrowind, I guess, they were. Because I like now to go back. I didn't mention that part in my backstory, my lore. That I really like to then go back and play more classic games, things from around the 2000s that I feel like I'm healing my inner child or something, because it's like, here's what you would have been playing if people listened to you when you went, I would like game, please. But yes, a lot of those RPGs from around the 2000s, especially on the PC side of things, they had like quite a complex technicality to them with their elements. And yeah, speaking of Elder Scrolls again, I feel like Skyrim is actually then when they really kind of dulled down a lot of those RPG elements. But yeah, still a good time. And wait, what was the question?
you know what? I think I lost the plot as well. We're talking about Elder Scrolls and
I'm sorry,
MMOs
like
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But did you ever actually end up going because you were like Final Fantasy X? I like this cover. Did you went back and played the heck out of that, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like, oh, it was just such a beautiful, bright, colorful era, and I'm really glad that I got to play these games now. But yeah, obviously those were the covers, those were the trailers. I always say, even though I then wasn't playing games myself, the jump in graphics from PS2 to PS3 still fascinates me to this day. I don't care that for Final Fantasy 16 you can see like every detail on every blade of grass or something. Like something about that, I will not be as impressed by a jump in graphics until we're actually like in some kind of VR Black Mirror thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I remember like, gosh, playing like the Nintendo 64, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so realistic. And it's kind of funny, like what you tell yourself at the moment when you see next gen in the moment. And I'm like, oh my, we've peaked. And then PS1 comes out, and I'm like, oh my God. And then you see like a one Final Fantasy, like I don't know, like a six, which is around the time I was playing, and they'll have like those little cutscenes, and the graphics go from pixels to these fully blown masterpieces of art, and I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. And then the cutscene ends, and it goes back to these like triangle people again. And I'm like, all right, that's where the budget went. Heard. And then now that's just like every game most of the time, and I'm just like, we've come so far as like graphical, technical
Yeah.
advances or whatever. So it's kind of cool.
Like a lot of games, it feels like we don't have like little movies, as you say, inserted into them where there's suddenly a bit of a whiplash when you go back to the graphics of the game.
So speaking of graphics and stuff like that, you fairly recently-ish maybe built your own PC.
Yes.
And as I was going through your digital footprint here, I was kind of seeing the journey that you had everything you needed, but for some reason you just couldn't get RAM. So you had a fully PC ready to go, and then the RAM that you had, it just didn't exist anymore because they were like, nah, we're not gonna sell that to you anymore.
That was terrifying.
Yeah, and that was because of is that because of the AI stuff, or am I tripping?
Yeah, no, you're not. That's the thing. It's the AI thing. They then like ordered a bunch of it and then it made like the prices inflate. I don't fully understand it. I was just fuming because to say like streaming then is still a lot of like community work, and I was so stressed because the thing is the PC was like fully funded by doing streams to raise money for it. So the community like built this PC. And so to then not just be able to have the RAM at the end, like, oh, I'm not then doing another fundraiser to have to pay £500 for this RAM that was £60 in the summer.
Yeah, I saw that, and the RAM stuff, I don't fully understand either. I just know that like companies are just buying it in like
Yeah.
massive bulk
We're simple
for
people. We're just
AI.
like, we just need to know what we need to know.
I just want to play my goofy little game, and I can't play my goofy game because you want, Chat GPT and Grok to just say weird, goofy things. I don't know. And I just don't think I care that much about it. But I have seen people have had hard times building PCs because they're missing this. It's like you get this really nice house and then you just don't get the keys to the house, but you own the
Yeah.
house, but you just you can't even enjoy it.
Yeah,
So,
that's the analogy.
yeah, it's been a tough run for a lot of people, but once you finally did win the Hunger Games of RAM sticks, um, did you build it yourself? How was that process? Because I'm not building anything. I just got a PC recently. It was a pre-build, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
have this game of Tetris I'm not good at.
Nah, I'd never built a PC before, and because of the parts involved and the fact that I wanted to stream it like a big event, like here's what we did, everyone. Actually trying to stream it, awkwardly building it on the dining room table. I found that actually I had my partner do most of the hammering work involved. Because also we are old, I guess. We thought that it would have instruction manuals. You know, you open the box with your little bits and bobs and then there's a little manual there. No, everything. Scan the QR code, please. QR code scan. Find instructions for your QR code scan. I'm like, okay, I'm not really going to be able to look at chat on my phone this stream then. Sorry, lads. But yeah, it was quite simple, I think, in the end. A couple of awkward mistakes to do with, oh, you're installing it with this, yes, no, oops, meant that we kind of had to pick it apart again and then rebuild it. But no, we did manage to get it sorted in about 4 hours, 5 hours, I think.
Okay, hey, that's impressive, and it seemed like it was more of a joint effort, you know.
It really
Um,
was.
so that's good. Because again, I'm not doing it, and I do like to ask the creators who I end up interviewing who are gamers, because a lot of people end up making their own PC, or not making, but they build their own PCs,
It ends up
and
feeling like a necessity.
it does, especially with like again, I got this pre-build and I had a pre-build before, but like some of the parts were getting outdated. And I have a buddy of mine who is like super smart with that stuff. He went out of his way to learn all the nooks and crannies. And then he was like, "You need a new GPU, and you need a new this, da, 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 and you need this thermal paste." And I'm like, "Dog, chill out. What do you want?" And I just like bought the stuff, and I was just like, "Here, I'll get you dinner. Just do it." And he was like, "All right,
The
cool." And
numbers
he
and letters just bouncing off your ears, like,
100%. So essentially, he came over. We got dinner, you know, and then he did all the stuff and the things, and my PC was all discombobulated on the table, and he was just like, you know, all Dexter's laboratory on it, and I'm just like, "Is it good? All right, cool, rip it," and then we were fine. So, having someone who was able to help you out can go a long way. Because again, I'm not doing it, so yeah,
like, I got
tough.
faith in you. I got faith in me. We could do it eventually. But that eventually is then probably like several days with lots of breaks. And so that's several days you don't have a PC.
Yeah, pretty much. So, you know, maybe one day, maybe 2027 is my year. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But so you got the PC built. We're up and running. Life is good. Things are great. And with the games that you play a lot of like darker games, a lot of retro games and stuff like that. That category isn't the most popular on Twitch, and it's more of like a niche category. You know, like you're not playing League of Legends, you're not playing Valorant, you know, you're not some IRL just chatting streamer. You're like
It's not toxic.
you know, exactly. So basically, with this category that's a little bit more niche, how did you end up finding like success? Because you're partnered and everything. Like you got to that cool milestone that most streamers like, would love to get there. Like how did you end up pulling that off, going in such a niche category?
As I say, I think when I started streaming, it was just out of like well, I've got nothing better to do in lockdown, and with this kind of like almost a mission in mind of I want to play a bunch of the games I didn't get to play as a kid. So that inevitably ended up retro. I think Final Fantasy VII Remake hadn't come out yet back then, so I played Final Fantasy VII for the first time for my first Final Fantasy game. And I think when you say it's a niche, that's the thing about niches. It could really go either way, and this applies to all sorts of things. That then you could then be so in that niche that you get that popularity from it.
Hmm.
It's funny because obviously you say like it's not one of the most popular categories, but because of how categories are, you know, they maybe need to work on that on Twitch.
It's
Retro,
very top heavy, yes.
yeah. Retro will then have like a lot of followers, a lot of eyes on it. I have always said retro as a category and games and demos as a category. I think that it would be good if they could apply a subcategory so that you kind of get the eyes from those more broad things, but you can also still have the information there of like what the actual game is.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think definitely the niche of retro, I like best the genres of horror and turn-based RPGs, which then classically, really, then the ones people remember and care about are the JRPGs. So I think that starting with things like Final Fantasy, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, I think that that is then maybe like a good place to start to then have eyes like there's always going to be interest in these games, even
What's
as
an
they do the remakes
RPG
and
versus a
such.
JRPG, by the way, for people who don't know what that is?
Oh gosh, because you know what? This is quite opinion based, I would argue. There was even a debate a couple of years back, wasn't there? Yoshi P, who again, big Final Fantasy name, he then said like JRPG is an offensive term because, Christ, I was then like I said, like, never involved in games, but I looked back on interviews after this comment was made, and there was something in the 2000s that was really rotten in the air around games and game shows. And frequently, JRPG was used like it was lesser, like defining it as Japanese was then putting it tiers below Western RPGs. That's like honestly how they talk about it in these shows.
An RPG acronym stands for.
Role playing game,
Okay, so then the J is just a so instead of J R,
Japanese.
right? So then that's the distinction, which is I had no idea it was even categorized as offensive. I can see it, as you're
No,
telling me this, but
exactly. Like it was a bit dated in a way because then bloody hell, how have I forgotten his name? Oh, I'm a fake fan. Give me just a tick. The main creator behind Bayonetta, he then said, actually, I quite like that we are so distinct in how we do our RPGs. That is Kamiya. He said that it's quite cool that actually then our RPGs are so distinct that they have to stick a J in front of it. And then it's been very interesting as well because the discussion stayed alive around Claire Obscure Expedition 33. A lot of people have made like the good jokes like JRPG. But yeah, because I think really it's almost like one of these terms that has been so warped by time and people just sticking a label on it. Like, yeah, it's kind of like that. But really, I think then JRPG, if you hear that, it's probably a bright, colorful cast of characters with a lot of story beats and it's turn-based combat. That's what people mean most of the time, I think, when they just say JRPG, slap that on it.
versus like a traditional RPG. Like, what is a traditional RPG in comparison?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I mean, I'm actually quite crap with game categories, to be honest, because RPG from the Western side in the 2000s, I guess that would have been Knights of the Old Republic, Dragon Age, maybe Fallout 1 and
Skyrim,
2. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the classic, yeah, full circle. So yeah, I mean, I guess I had never really thought about it, but like I swear, I think JRPGs are kind of like my favorite RPGs. So like, I don't know. Are we supposed to take out the J? Are we not supposed to? Does it really matter? Because it seems even not super decisive on the other side of the pond there. So I'm like, I don't know. What do you guys want? Tell me what you want, and then I'll do the thing. But
I think that
I don't know.
it flattened down, like it quietened down to actually like JRPG is fine now. Because of course, like people want to be nice. Can you
Yeah.
believe? So they were like, "Oh my gosh, have we been being offensive all this time? Is this like not so distant history? Have we been like really rude to the Japanese who make the games that we like?" But no, I think yeah, I would say not that I'm an authority, but that yeah, we can still say JRPG.
Okay, good. All right, sweet. I don't have to learn any new information besides what I just learned right now. Cool, 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 cool. So, you did the thing. You're having a good time. You are partnered. You're doing great stuff. You're having fun on Twitch. You're playing all the games you weren't allowed to as a kid, and then found out that you could thrive in those things. And then you're thinking, man, how much further could I have gone had I just done this? And beyond all of that, at some point, you did create a YouTube channel called LunaMothWings, okay, doing movie reviews for, all kinds of different, it seemed like horror-ish, kind of older genre stuff. And I saw that, because you started this thing like 3 years ago, and one of them had about 5K views on a really long form video. It was over like a Black Mirror review kind of thing. And I mean, I guess when did your love of movies even really start?
I think that's also been a long time thing. Not to paint myself as like a really sad, lonely kid, no games, no friends. But I think that I did spend a lot of time in front of the TV watching movies on video. I'm that old. I have vague memories of trying to rewind the tape when I broke it. But
Been
yeah,
there.
they also obviously had that big ear of like DVDs, how fun and cool and exciting. And I was then watching special features like, whoa, that is really cool though. Still here
You
in this
feel
day.
like marketing prey. You're like, they got me. It's so cool and exciting. Can't wait till a Blu-ray comes
Yeah.
out.
No, it's beautiful. I still have a pretty big physical collection of DVDs. Like, the physical media side of things. It's been a thing of discussion the past couple of years, especially since people are being repeatedly let down by streaming services.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of these DVDs, I was going through them the other day because they are, movies from 2005 that the DVD was bought in 2005. And I'm like, oh, look at this little manual that they put in the front of the scene selections. It's really sweet. And they did such effort to make the DVD menu sparkle and such. But yeah, I basically just spent a lot of time at home just watching movies. And again, with the literature side of things and the stuff that entices me about that level of discussion, it felt natural to me of like, hey, why don't I kind of like try and improve my like verbal discussion skills and talk about movies and such. And yeah, again, with the idea of like will attract like, the Black Mirror episode in question, I think that people don't think about it so much now. Again, back to streaming, because obviously Black Mirror went to Netflix and it became something a little bit more like bingeable. And I don't want to say that's lesser because I don't think it is, but definitely there's a little bit of a legacy around a lot of British shows made in Britain where they do 4 episodes and then leave for 4 years. And then those 4 episodes everyone remembers really distinctly. And I think that obviously the streaming model doesn't allow for that so much. And I think that's what it was. So yeah, I just wanted to, before then the next series of Black Mirror came out on Netflix, go back to a series 1 episode that I still think is really poignant. And I was really pleased with how that went.
Okay. So then, in your opinion, when you're doing these reviews for these movies, what makes a good movie? Like, what do you look for? And you're like, okay, that one hit different. Like, what do you look for that?
That is such a massively difficult question because another thing that I always say is like, I like to be able to analyze something, like go at it with a critical eye because the movie's inviting me to go at it with a critical eye. It's got questions and a background, and the director has thoughts on, I don't know, Descartes or something, and that's obviously making its way through. But I also love absolute trash. When flipping Freaky Friday 2 came out last year, I was like, this is amazing. This is everything I ever wanted. I
Peak
watched it the
cinema.
same day I watched Weapons. Which, again, going back to earlier when people wanted it to be like elevated horror because it's horror that's popular or something. Like, anyway, I actually, unfortunately, personally, did not vibe with Weapons so much. Something about it to me like was unsatisfying in its ending. I don't want to talk spoilers when I talk about these things, but it felt a little bit like it was being a really low energy, like not low energy, but like a really personal drama. And then the ending felt like a Roald Dahl book or something. It kind of popped out of nowhere, even though it was like phenomenal acting and such. But yeah, I rated Weapons 3 stars, and I think I rated Freaky Friday 2 5 stars. Like, oh god,
Wait,
this is
what
my
is the
day.
premise of Weapons exactly? I have never heard of that movie.
It was one of the big horror movies of last year, and I really enjoyed that. Basically, it was like an original idea. But yeah, the premise of Weapons, it's a small town in America, and an entire class of children has gone missing. The main suspect is the teacher. All goes from there, follows different stories in 3 acts, I think, of how the town responds to that and what the mystery was.
And even with all this mystery, Freaky Friday was way better.
They got me. They got
They
me with
got you good.
nostalgia.
I love that. So like, I see that you do and I have, I think I have one other guy. He does the 5-star system. I would argue, maybe this is a hot take, normal people do a 10, out of 10. What is this thing? Why are we using a 5-star system? I don't know. I'm stressed out because you have less wiggle room to play with. The world is so vast. There are so many things to go over, and you just condense it into 5.
No,
Like,
I
why'd
see
you
that
choose the
because you know
5-star
the
system?
problem. Now, I'm no mathematician, but when you try and then actually do a 10-star review, I feel like you're right. It does allow for more room. Because if you then try and transfer that score to 5 stars, people are like, what do you mean this movie is 1 star? Like, well, it is. It's like 4 out of 10. That's what I said, right?
Yeah, but like 4 out of 10, that means that it wasn't
I did just say
total
I'm no
garbage. Like,
mathematician.
imagine if you gave it like a 1 out of 10. then you're like, damn, like you couldn't get lower if you tried out of 10. That's crazy. But then a 1 out of 5 is like, maybe like it wasn't great, but it also wasn't the
Yeah,
worst. But
you're
I'm like, well, the
right.
ceiling's so low, I wouldn't know. So like, you
Every
know.
time I have a 1 star out of 5 feeling about something, I feel the need to definitely write a review to justify it. Like, hey, by the way, this movie isn't absolute garbage and deserves to be burnt or something. But here's why I personally don't ever want to watch it again.
So with that being said, then I asked you what makes a good movie. What do you think makes a bad movie? Because I mean, there are a lot of popular things out there, and are you just kind of like, this isn't actually good, but people still love this? Like, I don't know, it's a very popular term this past year and some change, but slop essentially. You're just like people just get fed this and they think, oh, this is peak cinema. What do you think makes like a bad movie in your opinion?
Well, I think following on from what you just said, I think that frequently there is an element to when I judge a bad movie of like not looking at the movie in a vacuum as much as possible, but like that kind of meta context of then like sometimes you see something that you're like, I don't know what all you losers are crying about. 5 stars, are you joking? And that for me last year was Fantastic Four. Again, it wasn't awful, but the fact everyone was like, this is amazing. This is the most amazing thing that I've seen this year. I'm like, that's really sad.
Oh my God, I watched that too, and I left the theater for Fantastic Four Marvel movie, and I'm like, I don't I don't think I had fun. I left, and I'm like,
I'm so
am I
sorry you felt that
tripping, or
way
was it
too.
like I just kept calling it fantastically mid, and it just
Yeah.
I couldn't shake it. I really couldn't shake it. But people did walk out of there thinking it was like peak cinema essentially, and I just thought I might have missed something. I don't know.
Right? So you got it too, just this alienating feeling of like, what's wrong with me? Oh, thank God other people online saw what I saw.
Like, oh, I get that 1 out of 5 review. Oh my God, it makes so much sense. I don't even need 10. It was just the one. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't. Realistically, the Fantastic Four movie, I would give like like a 6, like 5 or 6 out of 10. But if I used your rating, I'd give it like I'm not gonna lie, 5 is too hard. 2 out of
Yeah,
5.
I think I gave it a 2 out of 5.
All right, maybe I'm a movie reviewer. I didn't know. Okay, I mean, I don't watch a lot of movies, so I
You
guess I'm
have,
catching up to do.
you have
I'm
a
the
lot of
guy where they
respect for
go,
me.
well, oh, 100% because they're like, "Hey, Anthony, did you see this movie?" And I'm like, "No, it's a cult classic. What do you mean you haven't seen?" Insert. Oh my God, this is a self-report, and I'm gonna get shit for this. What do you mean you didn't watch The Goonies? I don't know. I just never got around to it. I was too busy playing video games or being outside as a kid, and the concept of watching a movie for me is just a commitment. I'm like, I can't move for like an hour and some change. Now it's like 3 hours. Like I can handle TV shows. I can walk away like an episode in, and come back to it down the road. But it's just such a
Yeah, more
commitment. I
natural
don't know.
stopping points.
So, and then I can't, but that's the thing though. I'm so all or nothing that if I start a movie, I'm not leaving. So I'm like, this is it. Like this time segment, it's cooked. Granted, as a mature adult now, I can pause things and walk away from them. But back then, 20s, my teens, no shot. So yeah, my hat goes off to you because it shows your patience and your resilience to stick through a movie that long. Now I watched the Snyder Cut all the way through, no bathroom breaks. It was like
Oh,
5 hours, like whatever. That's a whole separate conversation in itself. But
yeah.
yeah,
I tried to
yes.
watch it twice, but both times were in the evening, and so I fell asleep both times. Same with the Avatar films.
You
I
watched the most
tried to watch
recent
Way
one,
of
didn't
Water
you?
twice. No, have not watched
You
Fire
have
and
not
Dash
watched it?
because Way of Water I fell asleep like 3 times trying, and so I'm like, maybe these just aren't for me. I'm sorry,
What
Mr.
did you
Cameron. I know
give
you love
the?
your water.
What was your rating for the one prior to the newest one?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Way of Water was the one prior to the newest one, Fire and Ash.
Yeah.
And I didn't rate it because I didn't get to
Oh,
the
you
end.
never finished it.
No. Like, it was a lot of water, wasn't there?
IGN review 1 out of 5. Too much water.
That man loves his liquid.
That might also be a hot take. But you know what? I'm here for it because people will live and die. There was my boss at work. He was so excited for the Avatar movie, and he was. I hope he was memeing. I don't know him outside of work all like that. But he was like, I'm gonna get blue paint and go as one of the Avatar guys. And people were actually
Oh.
doing that. And
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. It does have a really dedicated fan base that aren't like very noisy until the movies are coming out, but
well, they come out once every 10 years, so
yeah.
that makes sense
So, I
to
mean,
me.
they rise.
You can't be that excited for 10 years straight. Yeah, I get it.
And good for them. It's just
Yeah,
not for me, innit?
not. I mean, and I watched the one, but it was long. And then they're like, another one's coming out, and I'm like, what else can y'all talk about? Didn't you do everything in the? Okay, you know what? This isn't about my gripes on all of this, but
No.
essentially, yeah, I now see relatively, or did you not fully answer what makes a bad movie? Because we kind of went on a tangent there.
Yeah, we did. Because it was then mostly surrounding, like I said, I think that I do have like a little spiteful, bitter peach pit kernel in my brain that is like, oh, and all of you thought it was 5 stars. I'm rating it down a star. But no, I think that there are things that it's so unfortunate, right? On my way to another tangent potentially. So there is a movie reviewer whose bloody name I forgot. I'm really good at forgetting names today. And they came out with a horror movie last year, Shelby Oaks. It was really interesting, experimental, but also felt like very paint by numbers, was bland. Like a lot of it had been done before, and like there wasn't a very good fixation on why characters would do the things they did. But I felt like I couldn't bear to rate that too lowly. Whereas if it were someone who had more experience, I would have, because I'm like, you know what? Well, funnily enough, man's realized making movies is hard. But yeah, I think that there are a lot of things that I'll rate them lower when they kind of rely on dated concepts, try and just do things really blandly, or have a kind of like almost like torture porn aspect. Again, coming from the more like horror is my favorite genre.
I gotcha. So final answer: what makes a bad movie?
Just like a lack of dedication to making it a good movie.
Fair enough. Makes sense to me. And then lastly on this topic for right now, what do you think is the one of your greatest movies of all time? What is the one thing where you're like, oh, I can watch this a million times, peak cinema, or do you not have one? Or do you have one?
I do. I feel like I'm gonna get judged for it.
You told me that you rated Freaky Friday over some other kind of cinema
Oh yeah,
film.
you're
You know
right.
what?
It's
So the
okay.
bar's
I've
been
already.
set. Yeah.
Yeah. I can just hop over the bar at this point. Nah, I think it's The Last Unicorn. It's this 80s animated film that's based on a book. And I don't know, it's a lot of its animators then went on to do animations for the Studio Ghibli films. It's it's really somber, kind of philosophical, but I watched it as a kid, so I think that that's part of the reason why I am so endeared to it. Is it like, you know, certain bits of media, you kind of end up growing with it. It's around enough that then every new time you watch it, you reach another stage in your life where you go, oh, I get that more now, or oh, that's yeah, I've had experiences in my life that make me relate to that more. Like I said, it's fantasy, but it's very kind of abstract in a few ways, but also it's silly. It's got a bunch of these like punchy, silly moments, and I think it potentially set my bar for what I like best in fantasy media, is that there is a lot of seriousness. There can be like the politics and such, but there needs to be fun. I think in a lot of apocalyptic stories, Last Unicorn, she thinks she's the last unicorn, but part of an extinct species, that she is like, how can we be extinct though? We're unicorns. But yeah, I think that then having an apocalyptic story, it needs to have all of these bits of brightness and lightness, because when the world's ending, why do you go on? So you need to have the silly in there, and I think that it does that, but it's also very sad, and it ends very changed. And yeah, Last Unicorn, love that film.
Okay, I've never heard of The Last Unicorn, but I
A lot of people
trust
don't
that,
like it
you
with
know.
fresh eyes.
Oh, no
It's that
kidding.
80s fantasy cheesiness. For some reason, they have oh, what's the band within America? They do the music to it, and like I just I said, like, I grew up with this movie,
Like a
so I
Nickelback
can't.
or
Mm,
no?
no. But yeah, like some things about it are really jarring, and again, 80s cheesiness to it. But yeah, I
Okay,
love
hey,
it.
but I mean, I'm sure you have a dedicated fan base somewhere who still love that unicorn dearly, you know?
Absolutely, I do. I know I do. My more pop answer, my more like, yes, I'm a serious critic. Alien 1979, easy peasy.
Oh, okay, classic.
The cat
Um,
lives.
which is still in that, more of like the retro. So I'm seeing like a theme here with a lot of the more popular things. And by doing what you're doing, by posting a lot about it, talking a lot about it, you then find out that you were in fact not the last unicorn. So full circle on that as well. So through this content creation journey, you have been through a lot of like ups and downs, basically. Again, you've reached some really cool milestones with like partner. You've met a lot of really cool people. You've even gone on trips to meet a lot of your online friends and stuff like that. Like a lot of like peaks and then the valleys as well, as far as like burnout, as far as like stress, anxiety, all the sadness that kind of comes with it. How do you deal with that burnout when it comes, because you've been doing this for a little while now. So I mean, unless you've never been there, how do you deal with the burnout of it all?
No, as if I can't imagine anyone not being hit by burnout every now and then.
Same.
Because I think, yeah, you love it, but that's then what makes it more cruel when you're like, well, oh yeah, I'll escape from this for a little while doing something I love. And then it's the horrible little cogwheels of the workaholic brain going, oh, well, I'll just watch a book. Like, oh, what can I say about this? What can I write about this? I should post that I'm reading this. It's yeah, it's difficult. I think for me mostly, I don't have any new inventive solutions than other people. I like to just go for walks by the river,
Okay. I mean, hey, everyone
just try and
has
spend more
their
time outside.
they do say that touching grass is always good, so I take your word for that. With the I mean, I guess when's the last time you had to deal with that burnout, and did the walking next to water help at all, or do you have to kind of get a little creative sometimes, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's the cogwheels constantly turning for like, you can make content out of this though. You can make content out of this though. You can make content out of this though. And like, you just got to switch that off, not think about it. Like, I think that's why going outside is quite nice. Like, unpredictable things can happen, even if it's on a low level. For me, I do actually have a canal quite easily accessible to me. So, seeing the boats is always a joy. It's always something different. It's just like a nice way to kind of like wipe the slate clean from the day. Yeah, otherwise, I don't know. It's difficult as a full-time content creator as well because I do focus a lot on the streaming. I think at some point when you're live streaming, you find your level with your stamina. And for me, that's always been quite long. I've always been very comfortable then streaming for 9 hours and talking and talking and talking. So I think that sometimes I could probably do with then putting a personal limit on myself to be like, I'm actually going to cut it off at 5 hours today
That's fair,
just to
honestly.
get away.
And I mean, IRL, like, life hits you, you got to deal with all kinds of crazy things. And how do you kind of like compartmentalize your like content with like life kind of just happening to you, Because in the content world, the show really does have to keep going on, because if you don't kind of nurture this like plant that you've been kind of watering, the plant ends up dying, or at the very least, it's not as strong as it used to be, which is another layer of like stress and anxiety. How do you deal with like life kind of like hitting you all at once with like all of this kind of stuff with the content creation? Because it can be a little like nerve wracking. Like, do you have any kind of like um things set in place to kind of keep you on the rails, or are you just kind of like, nah, F it, we ball? Like, what do you do?
I think I'm more on the F it we ball side of things. On the personal side, my mum died during lockdown, not from COVID, from cancer, but that was then a lot. And in a way, I retreated to streaming during that time because I think The best thing for me has been to just have a lot of activity around me, in terms of like listening to other people talk. And I think that I've always been very lucky to have a community from an early stage, like I said, because a lot of it came over from the first Twitch channel that I ever watched and enjoyed. A lot of people will start streaming and not necessarily have friends in streaming already. But I've always then had people to talk to, and it's then been about so many different things. I think basically I am somewhat blessed to be very easily distracted. Arguably, that's not actually then been good for my compartmentalizing, or healthily coping with things that are like, something that I should sit and process. But I think that it has helped me more just to then still be able to go on and not brood. I think I'm quite a melancholy person. Like, if I'm left to brood, it's not helpful. It will just have me like a horrible little goblin in the corner, like, everything's awful, actually.
That's real, and that can happen
Yeah.
so easily. Um, and I did see that you had lost your mother. Was it like roughly like 5 years ago, or give or
Yeah.
take? And in my experience, you know, I would say that's like probably one of the hardest things you've got to go through. I lost my mother as well several years ago, and you know, there's no there's no playbook. Things just kind of happen, and even if on some level you can kind of see it going in that direction, there's no way you'll ever be like ready for it to happen. And the hardest part that I experienced when I lost my mother was my world kind of stopped, but the rest of the world kept spinning.
Yeah.
And it just made me a very bitter person for a while. And I was just
Yeah.
kind of like thinking to myself, like, how can everyone be so happy when I am so sad and angry? And then it just kind of put a lot of things into perspective. And the fact that you were able to have that community to kind of like help bring you out of that is so special, because not everyone has something like that. And honestly, it took me a while to kind of get out of that mode and not become like a really, really angry person at like the world, because I was still streaming and I was still doing a lot of that stuff too.
Mm.
And the thought of trying to be entertaining after that had happened, at first I did give it a go, and I was like weirdly like numb, just kind of just saying things that I thought could be like entertaining, but I was like not really there. And I just was trying to do everything but experience the feeling that I had to experience to kind of get through it. And it was a tough time. It was definitely a tough time. So like how did you, I mean, even with the streaming aside, because the stream has to get turned off at some point. Like how did you kind of work yourself through, I would argue, not knowing you that well personally, but probably one of the hardest times of your life?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much the only loss I've ever had in my life, and then it was my mum. I definitely agree that I also had a lot of those feelings of bitterness. Like, turns you into such a nasty asshole. Like, oh God, every now and then I'd see something like me and my mum, like, oh yeah, that's nice, isn't it? Like, Jesus.
I also had that, yes.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I think, like I said, I guess I just was lucky that it was the right energy for the people around me, that I could then have a better time pretending that I was then already part of the world that kept spinning. Because yeah, it's so rough, for the first couple of months everyone's like, I'm here for you, and then obviously it inevitably peters out. Like, no one's then saying for 5 years on, like, I'm here for you, by the way. And it's still constantly through the rest of our lives we're gonna have moments where we're actually like, I wish someone would say that to me again.
Yeah,
I need it today. Sorry
that's
it's
so
delayed.
real.
uh,
So
yeah, I
yeah.
think from what I remember, because it is one of those ones where I feel like that's become a very blurry time of my life. Weirdly, all I remember is like weird stream markers. I remember that's when I started streaming the Kingdom Hearts series, because I went, it's familiar, it feels safe. I just want to then definitely focus more on comfort media for a bit. Um, yeah, I don't really remember that period at this point.
No, that's fair. And I think Kingdom Hearts is a solid pick, honestly. I mean, who doesn't want to play around with Disney characters and Final Fantasy
It's a nice
characters?
shock to the system to be like, I am very sad and Donald Duck is suddenly there, like, yeah, like okay,
Oh my God, don't get me started on Donald Duck. I wanted to fist fight that
a
duck so
duck.
many times.
Oh,
Holy shit. And you had a tweet that you had said, we can share joy through sadness, on one of the anniversaries of her passing. And you saying that and then telling me like Kingdom Hearts, we're having a good time. I really do genuinely believe, what you're saying. And I think, we're not the only ones in the world who are going through some kind of loss. So being able to talk about it and have a platform where you're like, hey, listen, a lot of us are sad, a lot of us are going to, pretty crazy things, but we can find the joy in it and have a good time still through Kingdom Hearts, through, this random detective JRPG game that you're playing that makes no sense half the time, and just having a
it's
good
so
time
beautiful.
to like be the brief respite that people need in that kind of moment, is amazing. So I know I always, if I'm having a bad day and I happen to be up early enough to see your stream in the first place, it's always a good time. And I'm like, all right, it's going to be a good day because you're just having such a great time. So personally, as a buddy of yours and as even just a fan, I do want to say like thank you for putting as much effort into the content that you do, because it's very important to everyone else.
Thank you. I hate talking about it because it makes me feel like holier than thou or something, but there are a lot of times that one of the things I value is that I can provide company to people who are then potentially going through very dark things themselves. And it's like I said, it's more on the distraction realm, but it's nice. It's not a horrible little flippin' dressing of false positivity, like, oh, everything's okay actually, oh no no, like positivity, oh, and you're like, no no, I can't hear this. It's nice to then just be eased into, here are the good things. We don't have to then be like, it's amazing, it's awesome, it's so so good because everything's so so good and so so fine. But yeah, maybe that's another part of the wryness you spoke about right at the beginning.
Absolutely. I mean, actions speak louder than words, right? So the fact that you're doing something instead of just giving people empty platitudes of the cat on the tree saying, hang in there, like there's only so much Pinterest mom you can do to help someone's day out. And I think you're doing the good thing. And I did see that you had mentioned around September 2024, that you ended up canceling a stream due to therapy. What kind of role has therapy played in your life?
Um, I think I said earlier, like, I've always been kind of like prone to melancholy or something, like some tortured Victorian artist. But genuinely, it's yeah, been a thing for a long time. And during high school, they mostly wanted to focus on the idea of counseling. But apparently, counselors don't kind of like need any actual qualifications. It truly is someone sitting there listening to you and nodding. And sometimes you need that. But for me, I was like, this is not working. This random flippin' 30 years older than me stranger just nodding at me and being like, you're right, felt like abominable. So I think the other year was one of the first times that actually I thought, oh, yeah, that's an option. I can ask for real therapy now. But yeah, I think that it was a lot to do with trying to teach methods, general scaffolding for things along the lines of compartmentalization, catching yourself before you fall into bad patterns that end up hurting yourself and people around you. Um, it, yeah, I feel like it was on the NHS and it was very good, but it was then something that we were supposed to have follow up sessions, and that never actually happened. So I think that sometimes I would like to maybe explore again something similar, but also I don't know. I feel like said in terms of like teaching coping methods, they've taught all they can. I've got the sheets around to revise like eternal homework. Um, but yeah, otherwise, I think that it was worth it, but not something that was life changing or has then actually a phenomenal daily effect.
Um, I think you and I are very similar in a lot of regards. And the way I even hear you talk about that is one of the things that I don't want to say like struggled with to a degree, but like being like intellectualizing what they're saying to you. You go, I have the playbook. I know how this goes. I'm going to say this thing, and you only have one of like two or three responses, and I have a pretty good high percentage chance of which one you're going to say to me. I get how this works. Um, and then the one thing that kind of like unlocked it for me was not the fact that I knew what they were going to say. I literally said to my therapist a while ago, this is several years ago. I was like, because at the time I was literally in school to be a counselor. So like I was literally reading the playbook that
Oh
she was
no.
pulling from. And I'm like, let me guess, you're going to say this next. And I'm just like, dog, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
So I literally just kind of leveled with my therapist. I was like, listen, I'm deep enough in the game to know where you're going to go with a lot of this stuff, but I'm going to try to take a step back mentally and then just ride the wave anyway. Even though I may, think I know how this story is going to play out. I'm like, you know what? I just kind of put my hands up and was like, I'll play ball, whatever.
Yeah.
And that ended up being a huge unlock for me because I wasn't trying to predict or guess the next thing that was going to
Just trying
happen.
to bring the wall down, actually then let yourself be vulnerable in the vulnerable place. But yeah.
Right, and it's hard because your wit and intellect has kind of kept you alive and afloat this far, so that wall doesn't seem as much of a defense mechanism as a standard for living at this point. So I get that on a spiritual level. So then when I was like, all right, cool, wall down, no thoughts, just vibes. Then I got the most out of that therapy, and it was probably some of the best experiences I had gone through since a lot of the things that have happened in my life. So I have a buddy of mine too who also is very similar to me, birds of a feather. And he had an issue. I'm not going to say any names, obviously, but he's a very intellectual guy himself. And so much so that the one therapist that he was with was just like out of their league, and then someone else who was like way better than that therapist was like, no, this guy's mine. And having someone who could like go there with him has been such a transformative thing. Like I have seen this guy like lighter than ever, but like there really is something to be said for finding a therapist who is the best match for you, basically, because like
We're
you were
trying to tell
saying.
early on, like, am I just being super jaded or are we just never going to gel?
Which is real, which is 100%
Yeah.
real. And so when you're having your counselor who is just kind of nodding at you, be like, your feelings are valid, and you're like, dog, I didn't say anything. Like that does happen a lot of times.
I know
So
my feelings are valid.
you don't have to remind me. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, so I mean, hopefully, you can find your way back to it, and if not, I mean, I'm sure you've got a nice river down the street that also has been getting you through some tough times. So there's that as well. So just knowing the way to cope and knowing yourself is a good step to feeling better. So yeah.
Yeah. Because it's nice to be able to feel vulnerable. Back to the streaming thing. It's another thing playing a bunch of sad games. Like, it's nice to even just have that kind of cathartic external sadness. That said, I feel like with streaming, I still don't always feel like I can be vulnerable.
Oh
Some
no.
days will be a bit more of an off day, and I'll be a bit more like, "Don't look at me. I'm not going to emote today, actually, because I don't want some little weasel coming out of the blue in chat to be like, is she playing on easy? Because I know I'm on a
Oh
short fuse
my
today."
God. And then it's my 13th reason, and I'm like, dog, I didn't need that today. And yeah, I get that on a spiritual level. There's just certain, like, when you're having a bad day, and then there's just that weasel who comes in, and then when you react to it, you give it attention. And then everyone clings to that attention you gave that person, and then they quadruple down, and you almost can't react to it, even though you really want to. So no, I felt that. I really did. Oh my gosh. So along the happiness vein, you have a cat named Tilly
Yes,
that
I
had
do.
recently a 15th birthday.
She's so old. She's an actor though. She shuffled along earlier. You probably heard the meow.
Yeah, I saw that. And anyone on the video side of things, cute cat was on screen for a little bit there. So if you ever needed a reason to migrate over to YouTube, that would be the reason, personally. Um, how did Tilly come into your life? Like, run me through that because it seems to bring you a lot of joy and happiness. And I wanted the origin story of Tilly the cat.
Oh my God, the entire lore. So I have lived in this house for a long, long time. We've known many neighbors. One of them died, maybe 2020, I want to say, maybe 2019. And he was a great guy, but he thought that it would be really funny in his will to leave to his best friend who doesn't like cats his entire family of 14 cats. He had far too many cats. He really did. And then two of them were Tilly and Farley. Farley is no longer with us. I think she died maybe 2022. And so when they were all running around, because this guy's best friend didn't then really even want to invest the time into getting them rehomed. And we had another neighbor who also loves cats. So she was like, I will look after them. So I think the situation carried on a lot longer than it really should have, because it was just allowed to kind of be like that for months and months and months. So during that time, apparently, I heard from my mum, they did try and catch Tilly and Farley, but couldn't. And so, because at the time my mum worked for an organization where she would be bringing home leftovers that was actually gourmet food for high-ranking sports players, I'd be like, "Oh, a salmon in the fridge, mum. Where'd you get that? Like, that's for the cats. Don't eat it." Like, excuse me.
Oh
This is
no.
really gourmet salmon. I want it. So yeah, she's feeding these two cats really flipping gourmet food, and they're living the dream. I need to find a picture of her. There's a picture of Tilly from that time. She's so fat.
Oh my God.
She stood by the back door, and she's so round. I do not recognize her.
All the gourmet salmon, you know?
Yeah,
It's like back for Garfield with salmon instead of lasagna. Yeah.
it was. But yeah, so during this time when they're like, oh, we can't catch these cats, apparently then my dad was like, oh, well, then they're ours now, then I guess, if you're all right with that, like, sign some stuff. And then, yeah, they, because of how my parents have had cats before, there's another big cat debate of like, is it okay to have indoor or outdoor cats? But they were outdoor cats for a long while. So like they came to us for food, but they were also probably going to several other people for food. And yeah, during the period where mum was dying, they were kind of then like left outside again more than anything else, just so they weren't running around with medical equipment in the house. But yeah, I think it was after Farley died. She died in the night in her bed. And during that period, it was a really cold winter. And so that's when I brought Tilly in to then be an indoor cat permanently, because she kept doing really bizarre things from being a stray. I shut the door one night with her in because it was raining really heavily, but she was pouring at the door to get out. I'm like, why on earth would you want to get outside? She wanted to get outside to hide from the rain under a bench with slats.
Oh, instead of staying
She's
indoors.
not a smart lady. Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
She is alarmingly dumb. So I started bringing her in so that she wouldn't freeze to death, essentially. But it's been a really lovely journey with her in a way. Like she's really adjusted really well to them being an indoor cat, but also on the sad side of things again, she spent all that time with Farley, and after Farley died, there's that thing they say, they're like, oh, cats only meow for humans, I still have a flippin' trace of an echo in my head when she was crying downstairs. It was such a heartbreaking noise.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously around that time, I just lost my mum too. So it was like we were twins in grieving. And so at that point, I'm like, this cat, I'm going to look after her so well.
So Tilly basically was a really, really important piece of the puzzle here when it came to, you kind of bouncing back from a lot of that stuff and the grieving and I don't know, like like a nice partner with the whole situation, I'd say.
Right? It's like a book or a movie or something. Like we just that time in our lives. I'm like, I love this cat so much.
I'd watch that movie, and then I'd give it out of 10 really good ratings. So, I'm not holding on to anything. So no, that's awesome and that's beautiful. And I need to redeem more like cat treats on your stream now after this whole backstory. So your cat may be looking a little plump if I have anything to say about it. So,
Cat lady.
pivoting a little bit here. There was one more thing I wanted to kind of like touch on before we kind of got on with the rest of this thing here. A little less sad, but ultimately, I was really curious though. You joined a talent agency called Nani Talent Agency.
Yeah.
Did I read that right?
Yeah.
What was that like? And run me through it.
That one really came to me out of the blue. It was something that I was aware of because they manage various other streamers that I know and love, and it was just an email, I think it was, or it might have been a Twitter DM because it wasn't completely unusable at that stage. But yeah, just saying like, oh, can we like have a chat and like talk about maybe you joining our talent agency? It's been very helpful to then have another set of eyes being able to go through lots of emails for other opportunities to do things like promote games and go to game events. I really, really appreciate that they're obviously really up to scratch with the legal stuff because oh my gosh, as a streamer, the very first time that you have to sign a contract for something, you're like, I've never seen a contract before, what does it say? Am I signing my life away? I once upon a time nearly did then say yes to a contract that I didn't read. In perpetuity we will have access to use your image. I'm like, I don't like that.
Oh,
Never mind. Why on earth would you need to do that forever?
man, we'll see where all the RAM was going in a little bit, huh?
No, this was before AI, I'm so, oh man. But yeah, it's really helpful to then have people be able to go through the legal things, as I say. And also, I feel like it makes me feel good that it feels like a little bit of prestige.
I mean,
Like,
honestly
yeah,
though,
I'm managed by the same people as this person.
oh, are you allowed to name drop or no?
I don't see why not. It's Nani. It's public. Tahara Jade, Red Witchery, Rotten Pappy.
Okay,
Like
nice.
these were names that I knew before then being approached. And
Is
I'm
that
like,
why
I
you
love
were
her.
like down to say yes faster, probably because you knew that these bigger names were part of the agency?
Oh yeah, and on another personal level, Dodger, press heart to continue. That was a person that I watched all the time on YouTube in the Let's Play era.
Oh,
And,
nice.
you can look back on her stuff and be like, oh, not problematic. But yeah, like, oh God. And again, I don't want to sound like I was a very lonely child or something, but honestly, I think because she got into this sphere so early, it's so difficult, even if you lived through it, looking back and remembering what the climate was like to be a woman online, like presenting. And yeah, she was like my internet big sister, is how I always used to think of her when
I
she would
love
do
that.
like her sit down chats. Yeah. So the fact that she was under the agency too, I'm like, wow, oh my gosh, imagine writing a letter to myself from 15 years ago. Like, you are not going to believe this.
No, that's amazing, and I love the full circle moments in life like that. So that's pretty sick that that ended up working out the way it did. Um, Now you are such a creative and hardworking person. You're always doing something. The brain's always going. Um, I guess my next question is, what's next for Luna Mothwings?
I really want to work on the YouTube more. I said earlier, I feel like I almost spend too much time live streaming. And I think that where I'm at, I'm not entirely satisfied. And sometimes I look and feel like I'm not matching up to where I feel that I should be at this point. And I think it's because I have kind of failed to diversify where I'm posting a lot of my content. I know then the Twitter breakdown was like a massive bump in the road for a few people, but like I definitely want to then be doing more short form videos, but also long form videos too. LunaMothWings is it's looking a little bit dusty. She needs some attention, but also with the LunaMothWings VOD channel on YouTube, I definitely want to be posting more reviews for these games that I play that are from 2003 and don't then get a lot of attention these days. Just on the angles of my first experience with them, still then loaning my knowledge that I have from then having been an English literature student, and also just any like fun little facts. The one that I'm looking forward to posting soonish is Drakengard, and that has a lot of fun facts involved because we scoured through Internet Archives, found all of these translated interviews with the developers and stuff like that. It feels good. Feel like a little historian.
Oh, nice. What is Drakengard about exactly?
Drakengard is most famous for its connection to the Near universe because everyone knows Near Automata.
Except gamers, and Near Automata is
Near Automata is the one with 2B, you know, the white haired chick with the black blindfold and the black dress.
yeah, the what is it, the animatronic lady. I'm like, how do I describe this for someone who does not game?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's a really weird like android who kills other robots, and then
Yep.
there's an overarching super deep meaning about life. What could possibly go wrong? So
Yep.
okay, Near, got it.
But yeah, Drakengard is it plays like an entirely different thing. It's more just like I can't think of the words. My brain is but yeah, hack and slash. It's very brutal. It's very weird, but frequently the reviews that pop up for Drakengard are the best game I will never recommend to anyone. It's it's kind of not aged well in actual gameplay. I think that it's the best game that I would never recommend to anyone because obviously playing the game will always then just give you more of a personal attachment, but it's all about the cutscenes. It's all about the different ending cutscenes. It's so bizarre and wacky, but also feels like really deep.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
it. Okay. Okay. Well, while you're working on that, that leads to my next question is where can we find you?
I have managed to get the name LunaMothWings on TikTok and Blue Sky and Instagram and the two YouTube channels, LunaMothWings for the VODs and LunaMothMovies for the movies. And LunaMothWings on Twitch, where you will find me most days of the week.
Nice. And I can attest the content over on the stream side of things, top tier, 10 out of 10. You will be entertained. You will be locked in. And it's just good times and good vibes over there. So I am a walking testament to her channel. So you guys should definitely go and check her out. So lastly, we have a borrowed tradition, I call it, where a previous guest asks a question not knowing who it's for. This is from a previous streamer, actually. Her name was Kernobi, and she asked, if your life was a video game and you can go back to a specific starting point, like a save point, and change something, would you do it?
Oof. It's tempting, but I don't think I would. I think that these questions always have like a real lingering on regrets. We don't linger here. We move forward. We overcome.
Also, you get the occasional monkey's paw where you're like, oh, I get the thing, but then it just dominoes into something else completely, like not
Yeah.
for the better. Yeah. So that's fair. Okay. Well, I mean, that was a simple enough answer, I
No,
guess.
wait, okay. One that feels safe. So, I got the second highest qualification for my degree, literally only because I kept handing in my assignments late, and when you hand them in late, they cap you at the lowest passing grade. So, in spirit, I got the highest grade. So maybe I would just go back and actually hand the flipping essay in when it needed to be handed in.
But on the flip
couldn't go
side,
wrong.
monkey's paw, then you become a crazy successful writer, and then you're never a streamer, and then I never meet you, and who knows what could have happened, So thank God you got the lowest passing grade because I met you. So thank you, teacher, for clutching up on that. And if you were to leave a question for the next person, what kind of question would you leave for that person? They could be a streamer. They could be in any creative field. I had a music DJ on here before. You don't know who's gonna be. So what kind of question will you have for a future guest?
Oh gosh. Who would you want to like who would it blow your mind if they acknowledge something that you'd made?
Do
Maybe
you have an
phrase
answer
it
for
better
that,
than how
or
I just
no?
did.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it personally, but do you have an answer
Okay.
for your own question or no? Not to put you on the spot here because I know it's meant for someone else, but like I thought
I
maybe you might
know.
have someone in mind, maybe.
No, I'm not sure because every time that something like that has happened, I've been really surprised. Like I never would have named them, but I'm like, oh my God, they know me.
I've made it.
Yeah, I don't think I have anyone specific on the spot.
Well, good. That means it's probably a really good question. So I can't wait until I stump them on the next one and be like, yeah, Luna's about to cook you, bro. All right. Well, Luna, thank you for joining me today. I always appreciate our chats and hearing your insights on life. I am going to be rooting for you in all the future endeavors and whatnot. And my show notes aside, I genuinely do appreciate you, and I definitely enjoy like gaming with you. And I think the last time we played something together was the repo, so we're like the little robots taking things and whatever. Like, gosh, that was a beautiful dumpster fire and
We
reminds
gotta
me
do it
why
again
we're
soon.
still friends. So I just appreciate you and I support you, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish and do next with all this cool stuff.
Thank you. It's been brilliant. I'm really
But
glad
yeah.
you're doing this.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I was like, God, I hope she says yes. Oh my gosh. So thank you for taking time out of your day to do this. And for everyone else listening, thank you for listening, guys. And I'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.